The moon had a habit of following Rumi Riddle. At least, that's what Whisper always claimed. "It's not following you, it's tracking you," the coin muttered, glinting in the silver light that danced across the train tracks. After all, when you rob a government vault, moons and men alike start keeping ledgers. Rumi didn't answer. She was crouched low, pulling the hood of a travel cloak tighter as the freight train whistled through the misty borderlands. The town of Claverley, old gray towers, red stamps, and bureaucratic breath was far behind her now. The heist had been clean, nearly divine in precision, except for one tiny thing. She hadn't stolen the gold. She'd stolen the pumpkin. "Whisper," she sighed, "must you always ruin a good escape with commentary?" "I must. It's in my contract." She flicked him back into her pocket. The coin mumbled something about unfair labor laws and went quiet. The night air turned warmer, humming with something older than bureaucracy, the scent of cardamom, the faint hum of illusion. Noorabad was near. It was a town whispered about in the alleys of thieves and the footnotes of poets. A place where shadows didn't just stretch, they sang, and where magic wasn't outlawed like in Claverley, but bartered, bottled, and brewed like spice. Rumi stepped off the train before it reached the main station. The soil here shimmered faintly under her boots like powdered glass. The desert hummed with tiny winged lights. She was down to 2 silver rupees, a worn satchel, and a coin that wouldn't stop talking. Not ideal conditions for a thief who specialized in the improbable. "Where to now?" Whisper yawned. "An inn, or should we continue your noble tradition of sleeping in abandoned wells?" "Shut up," she said, though without heat. "We're looking for Shams." "Shams Jr., you mean, the eccentric mirror maker?" Rumi nodded, scanning the horizon. "The same. His late father owed me a favor, and if I'm going to survive in Noorabad without getting roasted by a bounty spell, I'll need a roof." "And what does he get in return?" Rumi smirked. "A visit from me."
Noorabad didn't look like a town. It looked like a dream painted by a half-drunk artist. Floating lanterns weaved between buildings of glass and wood, and markets spilled over with charm peddlers hawking bottled laughter, bottled rain, bottled everything. Rumi kept her head low. The city's night guards wore veils of smoke and carried wands shaped like typewriters, a hint of Claverley's influence creeping in. Bureaucracy, even here, was trying to root itself in magic. She stopped at the edge of a narrow alley, where a sign hung crookedly above a cracked door. Shams and Sons, mirrors, illusions, and other reflections. She smiled. "Still in business?" Inside, the shop was dim, filled with half-whispering mirrors that blinked when you stared too long. Some reflected the past, others the person you could have been. And at the counter, nervously adjusting his cuffs, stood a young man with wild hair and ink-stained fingers. "Shams Jr.," she greeted softly. He froze, turning toward her like someone seeing a ghost they'd been hoping to forget. "Rumi Riddle," he breathed. "You're real." "Last I checked. Do you still offer sanctuary for travelers in trouble?" He hesitated, eyes darting to the curtained room behind him. Then he nodded slowly. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They're looking for you." "They're always looking for me." "No," he said, "not the Claverley clerks. Them." He gestured toward a tall mirror at the back of the shop, its surface flickering like disturbed water. Something, or someone, was moving on the other side. Rumi took a careful step forward. "What's that?"
Sham swallowed. "A mirror I made last spring. It took something from me." "What do you mean, took?" He exhaled shakily. "My reflection. It vanished. I've tried spells, glasscraft, even bargaining with illusionists, but nothing works. My reflection is alive now. It mimics me around town, ruining my work, stealing my clients. I'm being replaced by my own mirror." Rumi tilted her head. "Sounds like you need a thief." He blinked. "A what?" "A thief for fire," she said, smiling faintly. "Someone who can steal impossible things, like reflections." Whisper popped out of her pocket. "You're taking this job? Really? After the last one cost us everything but my dignity?" "You lost that years ago," Rumi murmured. Shams looked between them, half terrified, half hopeful. "You think you can do it?" Rumi shrugged. "I once stole the governor's pumpkin." "Why?" he asked, bewildered. "Because it was the only thing in that vault that didn't belong there."
Noorabad by day was chaos. Noorabad by night was an orchestra. The lanterns hummed, the wind carried laughter and illusion alike. And in the center of the night bazaar, amid carpets that flew slightly too high and clocks that ticked backward, Rumi was hunting a reflection. Whisper sat in her palm, his small etched face squinting. "That one looks like him," he whispered, pointing with a beam of light. Rumi shook her head. "Too clean. The real Shams would never tuck his shirt." She moved between stalls, catching glimpses of herself in a dozen warped mirrors. One showed her older, another younger, another turning to mist. But none of them lied the way this one did, an ornate brass mirror propped beside a fruit cart. The reflection of Shams inside it wasn't matching its owner. It was smiling. "I found you," she whispered. The reflection turned its gaze directly toward her. For an instant, she felt the air crackle, like stepping too close to lightning. Then the mirror shimmered, and the reflection stepped out. People screamed. The fruit seller fainted. Rumi pulled her hood low and dashed into the maze of stalls. The mirrored Shams followed, grinning with two perfect teeth. "You shouldn't be here, Rumi Riddle," he called, his voice echoing like two layered bells. "You steal what isn't yours, but reflections belong to no one." "Good," she called back, slipping between two fabric tents. "Then you won't mind if I borrow yours." She hurled Whisper into the air. The coin spun, glowing bright as a small sun. The illusion broke for half a second, enough for her to grab the edge of a mirror frame and twist it open like a door. The reflection screamed as it was sucked back inside. Rumi slammed the mirror shut. "Got him!" Whisper whistled. "You're welcome." Back in the shop, Shams stared in disbelief as Rumi dragged in the sealed mirror. You caught it?" "Technically him," Whisper corrected. "Reflections have pronouns." Rumi ignored the coin. "He's contained, but your problem's bigger than you think." Shams frowned. "How so?" "The mirror didn't take your reflection. It traded it. Someone or something gave it life in exchange for something else." She traced her fingers along the mirror's frame. Symbols glowed faintly under her touch. Bureaucratic seals, Cleverly sigils. She exhaled. "They're here too." Sham's face drained of color. Why would Cleverly bureaucrats care about mirrors? "They don't," Rumi said quietly. "They care about records. Noorabad's mirrors store truth. They've found a way to regulate even that." Whisper made a low sound. "They're trying to tax reality now." Rumi nodded grimly. "And this mirror of yours is one of their prototypes." Shams backed away. "Then what do we do?"
Rumi's eyes gleamed. We steal it back before they realize it's gone.
The next night, Noorabad slept uneasily under a strange orange glow. Banners of the Ministry of Magical Regulation hung over rooftops. Inspectors were in town. Rumi and Shams moved through the shadows of the lower wards, where pipes hissed steam and cats whispered secrets. Whisper guided them with faint light from Rumi's pocket. Their goal? The mirror vault beneath the old observatory. Guards patrolled the catwalks, and magical seals blinked like lazy eyes. But Rumi had never met a lock that didn't eventually tell it its secrets. "Are you sure this is worth it?" Shams murmured. She grinned. "You'll get your reflection, I'll get my revenge, and Whisper here will finally stop whining about dinner." "Unlikely," said the coin. Inside the vault, dozens of mirrors floated in the air, each labeled with bureaucratic tags, property of Claverley Ministry, reflective rights reserved. Rumi's hands moved like silk. She swapped seals, twisted illusions, and used smoke from a nearby incense urn to cloak their movements. Then she found it. Mirror 17A, identical to the one she'd captured. It pulsed faintly. That's the master key, the one controlling all reflections tied to Noorabad. Whisper shimmered. "So what now?" Rumi smiled. "Now we make it forget." With a flick of her hand, she drew a small sigil on the glass. The mirror trembled, then shattered silently into dust. Across Noorabad, every trapped reflection blinked free. Every mirror went dark for a moment, and reality itself seemed to sigh in relief. At dawn, Rumi and Shams stood on the roof of the mirror shop, the rising sun painting Noorabad gold. "So that's it?" Shams asked softly. "My reflection's back?" Rumi smiled faintly. "Look!" In the window beside him, his reflection moved perfectly in sync again. He laughed, the kind of laugh that sounded like he hadn't used it in years. "You did it." Rumi shrugged. "I'm a professional." Whisper jingled. "A professional what, exactly?" She smirked. "A collector of lost things." As she turned to leave, Shams caught her wrist. "Rumi, you don't have to keep running." She looked toward the horizon, where Claverley's gray clouds met Noorabad's golden sky. "Maybe not, but the world's full of things that don't belong where they are." "And you plan to steal them all?" She smiled, her eyes glinting. "One at a time." The coin chuckled. "You know, November's a good season for stealing reflections. Everyone's too busy chasing sales." Rumi laughed, tossing him in the air. "Then let's give them something worth buying. A little chaos." The wind caught her cloak as she disappeared into the waking streets of Noorabad, the sound of Whisper's laughter echoing behind her like the faint chime of silver.